We've spent a lot of time looking at apostrophes used in contracted words called contractions. We're going to move now on to apostrophes for possession or when an item belongs to someone. In these examples, the solution's pretty simple. We're looking at items that belong to an individual person. In this top section here, we have got people whose names do not end in an S, like Sarah and John. If we're talking about the bag that belongs to Sarah, we just say Sarah's bag, we put an apostrophe S on the end. And if we're talking about pencils that belong to John, it's John's pencils. The difficulty comes when you have names that already end with an S. Here, in this section down here, we've got James and we've got Jess. James ends in an S and so does Jess. So when we put our apostrophe on the S, we don't put an extra S on. So here we've got James's hat, where we've just added the apostrophe after the S that is already there, and Jess's coat with the apostrophe after the last S. Moving on, once you've learnt about apostrophes in school, the problem is you tend to want to put them everywhere. What you mustn't do is put an apostrophe just because an object is plural. For example, if we're talking about pencils that belong to Sarah, it's Sarah's pencils. You do need the apostrophe S on Sarah. She's the one who's doing the owning, but you do not need apostrophe on pencils. It is just a plural. Same goes here. Toby's scooters. This is definitely wrong. Whereas Toby's scooters, where we just have plural scooters with an S, is correct. Moving on again, we move on to the complications that occur when you have more than one person owning an object. This is a simple one. We've just got one bike that is owned by one boy. So we will say the boy's bike. We have apostrophe S on the end of the boy. For this one, this boy's very lucky. He's got loads of bikes. So we have a boy who owns lots of bikes. We will say the boy's bikes. Notice apostrophe S on the boy. And notice no apostrophe on the bikes because it is just a plural. This is the one where it gets a little bit complicated. Here we have lots of bikes that are owned by lots of boys. So we're talking about the bikes that are owned by the boys. Now, the bikes stays with no apostrophe because it is just a plural. They belong to a group of boys. So boys ends in an S, just like James or Jess. So we would have boys with an apostrophe after the S. The boys' bikes. The bikes belonging to a group of boys. A bit complicated, but follow the basic rules and you won't go wrong.